In this video, I'm going to show you how to use fetch with React.js. So, what is fetch? And we want to understand exactly its role in JavaScript. Fetch is automatically provided by JavaScript, so you can use it without installing anything. It's a modern JavaScript API. It's made to make HTTP requests. So it's promise-based, so basically you can do asynchronous call also. And it provides a simple way to interact with RESTful services and APIs. So here I got a form page, which is available on the /form endpoint on my application. You can find the code in the description. And what I want to do is to use fetch here to make some call and to display basically here in the console the response. So what I'm going to do at first is to use useEffect because I would like to trigger this call not on a click, not on a button, but to trigger this call basically immediately when I arrive on the form component. Okay, so up here, I'm going to import useEffect. And if you don't know how to use useEffect, you can go on the previous course about useEffect and to understand what it is and how to use it efficiently. Okay, so here, if I put an empty array, it's going to fetch automatically. It's going to trigger everything that is inside useEffect automatically on the start of the component. So here I'm going to type a fetch, okay? And basically just fetch, there we go. Here fetch, it's supposed to receive one or two parameters. The first parameter is the URL. Okay, so what we want to do is to fetch some data coming from an API. So it could be any API that you want. I created, especially for you guys, an endpoint on my own website on codewithg.com, an endpoint to fetch some movies. So if I copy paste here in a new page, here we can see that we got a list of movies on codewithg.com/API/movies. So you can train on that to get actually the movies. So I'm going to zoom a little bit, there we go. So here we've got first the URL, and after you can pass an object, and in here you can pass different elements. So here it's basically everything related to HTTP. So you got the method, by default it's get, but you can put post, patch, whatever, okay? All the methods provided naturally by HTTP. Also, if you want to pass some headers, you can pass some headers, and this is where most of the time you are going to pass the authorization with your token, a cookie, etc., etc., okay? So here, I'm not going to do that just for this course. I'm just going to let it like this. I have here my fetch that is going to call this API endpoint. And what I want to do is just to treat the response that we got in return. Because the response that we got in return needs to be converted to JSON to be read actually inside my browser. So here what I need to do is to type res JSON. Okay, so I treat here the response as a JSON. Now I want to read it. Or I want probably to apply this result to basically a user state, for example. Then when I get the response, I want to just get this data. So what I can do here is just to console log the data at first to see basically the response from the API. So when I do that, I'm just going to remove all of that. We are going to do the fetch again. There we go. Here we can see that I got the movies in an array and I got everything that is down there. If I got an error, what I would like to do is also to catch the error. So it's totally possible with fetch. What I would do at the end, just after the then, I could add here a catch and error and a console log and error. Okay, so here it's a very good case, very interesting case that we can treat right now. Remember, at the really beginning of the course, I told you that I would tell you why React is rendering 2 times here the response or the components in dev mode. And the answer to this question is basically on my main.jsx file. We are in a strict mode. So the strict mode does a lot of stuff, and this is not the topic of this course. But this strict mode here in development environment is rendering 2 times actually the components. So it made 2 times the call here, the fetch is done 2 times. If you remove this strict mode, suddenly you will see that you don't have the call 2 times, but only 1 time. So if you want to take more information about strict mode, we can see that in another video, or you can check online. Alright, so far that's great. I implemented this fetch like this, but probably I would like to do some other operations, right? Probably I would like to have a complete function. Basically, that would be called fetch data. And this function, fetch data, could be outside of the use effect and be used for other stuff. So here we got here the function fetch data, and let's say that I'm just going to put it in here, and we can see that this fetch data is actually an asynchronous function, which means that here when I do async await inside my try catch, here I'm gonna wait for movies response to arrive to continue. Okay, so basically, as I told you, fetch is also asynchronous without a problem. So you can get, post, patch, delete data, whatever the method is, asynchronously. Okay, so I got this, and we can see here that I do exactly the same as down there. I'm transforming my response into JSON, and then I set the data up there. So I don't have any data here. What I can do is just to put data, set data, okay, and here I can just put an array, and I can just apply the data directly from the response. So what I can do here, I'm going to go down, just going to remove that. You will see that inside the use effect, I don't need to put the async await. Basically, it doesn't work. You cannot use effect asynchronously. So what we want to do, we just want to call fetch data that is going to handle the whole thing, okay, from the asynchronous call. So I'm just going to save that right now, and then we apply the data and we don't console log anymore. Okay, probably what I would like to do to be sure that the call has been done is just to console log here. So here we got a mismatch, we got data. Let's just put an underscore data and here data, because data already appears up here inside my data array. And then we've got the data here that has been applied with the upcoming fetch. What we did here, we converted the previous fetch into a more cleaner function that can be reusable. If I don't want it to be reusable, what I want to do is to put it directly inside the use effect and not to instantiate it inside my component. Okay, that's what I want to do. So I got this, I got my data. What I would like to do probably is actually to deconstruct data. Here we can see that I set data from the upcoming data, and we got a very good case. Here we can see that data here coming from the response is actually an object of movies. So what I'm supposed to do here is probably more to deconstruct here my data and to set the data by movies. It's way better. So if you look at this, here we can see that basically this is the array that I'm pushing and not the object containing the array with the key movies. Okay, so far so good. We've got everything. If I want to display them, I can go down there, and what I can do is to do a data map with every item that we've got. So here I'm just going to display, and we already saw in a previous lesson how to do the list. Okay, if you don't know, please come back to what we have. Okay, and here I got an item, and this item here, so remember, every movie has a title. Okay, so let's say that we're going to put as a key an item.title, and here I can display my item.title, and suddenly look at this, we've got the movies coming. So here I'm just going to update again, and we can see here it's quasi instant. My API is really fast. We got the movies title that are displayed directly. So the operation is this: one, we fetch the data. If there is no error, we continue. If there is an error, we stop here at this line 66. We deconstruct data, assuming we know that here it's going to be an object containing a movie's keys, and we apply the data up there to set data, and here the component is displaying actually the data that has been fulfilled. Fetch is the basic solution provided by JavaScript to send and get data from API, to communicate with API, but we got other solutions that we can use, other libraries that are providing some other solution that actually solves a lot of problem. For instance, if your API is slow, here you're gonna have some time to wait to get the titles. And probably you would like to display some kind of loader, skeleton or stuff. The main practice would be to have a loading state up here, which is totally fine, true or false. And we set actually the loading at the beginning of our try, and at the end, we set it to false. Okay, that's one solution. But we're gonna see that with other libraries, we can do way better. And fetch is basic, you can use it everywhere. But if you want to go deeper, probably a library like Axios or UseSWR that we're gonna see just after would be more useful.